Welcome to another edition of Crimes Notes. Now that you know how to graph equations by hand, I wanted to show you how to graph them using your graphing calculator. A lot of you, when you get the calculator and you turn it on, it is going to have stuff on the screen. So one thing that you can do that all of you need to know how to do is start a new document. So if you go to Doc right here below the On button, it'll give you a bunch of options. Pick File, and then we want a new document so that our calculator is clean. So then you would just say, no, I don't want to save anything. And then it'll give you options. Do you want to add a calculator, add a graph, add whatever it is? The other option is you can go to the home screen. And for today's lesson, I want you to pick graphs, but not the scratchpad graph. I want you to go down and actually pick graphs. So if we pick graphs from there, what you will notice is that it comes up with an option. It says F1. There's multiple equations that you could put in. So if I wanted to put in more than one equation, I could press up and go to F99 all the way through F1, or if I press down, there's F1, I could go to F2, F3. So just so you know, pushing the up or down, you could actually graph multiple graphs on the same coordinate plane. For us, however, we only want to graph one. So now that you've got this up, I want you to go ahead and type in the equation 2x plus 3. So 2x plus 3. Again, the x is at the very bottom. Down here at the bottom it says x, so you just push the actual x alpha button to put it in. Once you've got it in, press enter and you should see the graph pop up. What I don't want you to do is now just try to sketch the graph on your coordinate plane. When you are graphing, you want to have exact points. So where do I find those in the calculator? Well, just like everything else, you're going to push the menu button. So if I push menu, it gives you options, and if you scroll through all of them, all the way down here at the bottom, number 7 says table. So you can either scroll down to table or you can just hit 7. And then it's going to give you options, split screen or remove the table. Well, since we haven't opened a table, we're obviously going to pick to split the screen. So what it does now is give you a table of values for your graph. And we're going to use these to plot on our coordinate plane. Now, what we need to remember is that on our graphs, the highest x value way over here is 10. And the lowest x value is -10. So when we're trying to pick values, we want to make sure that we don't go lower than -10 or higher than 10. So let's go ahead and push the up key, and if you notice, the x values change. So here's -3, -2, -1. So let's go all the way to our lowest value of -10. If you notice, it gives us a y value of -17. Well, again, if I look at my graph, I can't exactly graph -17 on this graph. It's not going to fit. The highest y value is 10, and the lowest y value is -10. So therefore, I wouldn't want to put that point, -10, 17, in my grid. So -9, -15, we're in the same boat. -8, -13, -7, -11 still doesn't fit. So the first point that I would want to put in my grid is -6, -9, because that's the first point that would actually fit on my graph. Then I could scroll up and get more. So there's -5, -7. There's -4, -5, -3, -3, -2, -1. Then I'd have to keep scrolling. -1, 1, and 0, 3. Now, could I keep going? Absolutely. If I had room, I could also include the point 1, 5. That's the next one. It also has 2, 7. And then it also has 3, 9. So any of those could actually fit in my graph if I needed them to. So then, once we've got the points, all we have to do is plot them on our coordinate plane in order to graph. So here's -6, -9. This is on the x-axis, this is on the y-axis. So if I go to -6 on the x, which is this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm supposed to match up with -9, so that would be all the way down here, 1 from the bottom, I could put a point. Then the next one is -5, -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I could plot -4, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you notice, you should start to see that pattern that we already know is called our slope. There's 2, so we're going up 2 over 1. But if you don't notice that, you can just continue to plot the points. So there's -3, -3, -2, -1, -1, 1. So now it's positive, so we go up. 0, 3, and then we could include these points 1, 5, 2, 7, and 3, 9. But there is something else I want you to notice. If we go back to the old method of graphing, we would have started at 3, which is here, and then our slope says 2. So we would go up 2 over 1. So if I continue, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, you'll notice I actually just plotted 1, 5, 2, 7, and 3, 9. So if you remember how to graph using your by hand method, starting here and then following your slope, you should get the same points. So then we would be ready to connect our dots. Good. All right, so let's look at number 2 down here at the bottom. Number 2 gives us a new function. So what we want to do on our calculator, whoops, I was on my graph. Now it's given me a new one, but let me go back. In case this was the one that you were working on, okay, and we wanted a new graph. You have a couple of options, but the easiest thing to do is to just go back to the main menu and hit graph, and it'll give you a brand new page to work on. So now we're going to type in 1/2 x plus 2. So do Control divide to get your fraction. Actually, it's just as easy. Let's do 1 divided by 2, and then put your x, and then plus 2. Now, the reason that I say that, if you put this as a fraction with the fraction button, then everything that goes in your table will come out as a fraction, and we don't want that. We'd rather see decimals and skip them. Okay? But if you put it as a fraction, you'll still get the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. There's what my graph should look like when I get done. And now we're going to go to the table. So go menu, go down to 7, we're going to pick table, and then split that screen. Remember, we want to scroll all the way to that lowest x value. So I'm going to go all the way to -10, and it says -10, -3. Does that fit on my coordinate plane? Yes. So I would go ahead and put -10, -3 in my table. But when I go to the next one, it says -9, -2.5. We don't want to have to try to graph that, so we're going to skip that and see if we can look at the next point. Well, the next point says -8, -2. That does fit on my coordinate plane and it's whole numbers, so it's easier to graph. So then we would skip -7 and go to -6, -1, and then -4, 0. We would skip -3. We would go to -2, 1. Skip -1, 0, 2. Skip 1, and we could go to 2, 3. Now, are there more points that would fit? Yes. So if we kept going, we could also add 4, 4. That would be okay to have in the table. 6, 5. 8, 6. And 10, 7. So you have a lot of options that you could put in your table. So now, I'm not going to do it for you this time, but I want you to try to graph these. So I can get you started. Again, remember this is X, this is Y. These are your negatives, positives, positives, negatives. So to plot -10, -3, I would go all the way to the left, -10, and then on the Y, I would have to go to -3, so that would be down here. Okay. But remember, if you have trouble plotting the points, you can always go back and use our old method where you start at 2 and follow your slope. So see if you can graph that one on your own. Now let's flip over onto the back. The only thing that changes when we move to the back is that now all of a sudden you notice I don't have an equal sign anymore. It switched to my inequalities. So what does that look like whenever we go to put it in the graph? So let's go back to our calculator. We're going to go back to the home screen, pick a new graph down here at the bottom so that I get a clean page. And I'm going to do what I would have done before. So this is -2 divided by 3. Then put our x, and then put -2. But now I don't want to have an equal sign. So if I push this back arrow until I get to the equal sign, oops, and I hit delete, I should have the option of putting in a less than sign. So if you hit Control and then this equals button, it should let me pick my less than symbol. So I now have y less than -2/3 x minus 2. So when I hit enter, uh-oh, apparently I did something wrong. Alright, let me try this again. Sorry, these are new calculators for me too, so let me try a new document. Well, I guess I'll have to make a second video to figure out how to do the inequalities.